Welcome to the Leonard Peikoff Show. A well-known teacher and author, Dr. Leonard Peikoff is Ayn Rand's chosen heir and the leading authority on her philosophy of objectivism, the philosophy she presented in her famous novels The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. And now, here's Leonard Peikoff.
Today, a unique feature of this show, another tie-in contest, which we try to do approximately once a month. Can you see connections that other people miss? Tie-ins, relationships? Can you see the same philosophic principle running through extremely different examples that seem to have nothing in common? Well, that's one of the things that we learn in philosophy. And it goes all the way back to the founders of philosophy, the ancient Greeks, who looked for what they called the one in the many, the one in the many, the one common denominator, uniting all the many divergent things. All things in the world, I hold, are interconnected by philosophy. They're interconnected one way or another. And in a tie-in contest, I pick 3 or 4 items. Might be newspaper stories, might be facts from history, work of art, something about personal relationships, as divergent a set as I can come up with. And I ask you, what is the deepest philosophic common denominator that links these supposedly very different things? We're going to run this contest basically as we have done in the past. If you enter, there's 2 categories, and you get your grade, so to speak, on the air. If we tell you on the air, nice try, that's a pleasant way of saying your answer is too far off the track to qualify as a winner. Or the other grade you can get is on the track. And we'll say that right on the air. I'll just say on the track, in which case you become a finalist. You might win. So we keep you on hold in that case and take your phone number. And if you are on the track and we ask you to hold, if you should get cut off by accident, please phone back and give us your phone number. So when I choose the final number, which I do right around 3:15, maybe a minute or so before 3:15, I'll be able to choose the winner at that time and give you the explanation as to why. Then if we have your number, we'll call back the winner and try to get you back on the air to congratulate you and acknowledge you as the winner before the show finishes. Now, we always have a prize for the winner in these contests, and the prize today is a pretty good prize. It's 2 novels of Ayn Rand in audio form, high-bridge, abridged, but nevertheless substantially long classics, has brought out Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead. Atlas Shrugged, I'm holding in my hand now 8 audio tape set, which is 12 hours of material, read by Tony Award-winning actor Edward Herman, which retails for $30. And I have Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead, also read by Edward Herman, produced by Highbridge Abridged Classics. This is 6 tapes running 8.5 hours. So that is also a $30 value. So there is a $60 value right there for our prize. And just to make it even intriguing, usually I autograph the prize, but these are wrapped in cellophane as they come straight from the manufacturer. So instead, I will attach to them a letter of congratulations on the special Leonard Peikoff Show stationery signed by me, and that is worth, I think, a nickel. And therefore, we can say that we have a prize worth $60.05. And that's definitely something worth winning, I think. Now, our rules for entry are always the same. If you won in the past, you can't enter again because we're trying to give other people a chance. And secondly, nobody who is an authority or an expert on Ayn Rand should enter because it isn't fair. If you've taken lectures on her philosophy or courses on it, or you've read her or my nonfiction books about it, even any one essay, I'd appreciate it if you would disqualify yourself. If you've read just her novels, her fiction, that's fine. You can enter. But some of these contests actually come from articles of hers or mine where a lot of things are tied together by philosophy. That's one of the things that Ayn Rand was an expert at, seeing the connections between the most diverse things, tying them all together by one philosophic principle. So sometimes on these tie-in contests, we're actually giving you her or my nonfiction articles in reverse, and if you've read them, please disqualify yourself. Enjoy the show, but don't enter in a case like that. Everybody else is welcome, and I'll leave it to your conscience, whether you're really getting the material with the same chance as everybody else or you're coming with special knowledge. And one last rule that we devised from previous runs, and that is that if two people give identical or similar answers, the earliest answer wins. I had a tie on one of these shows, and I couldn't figure out who had the better answer. They seemed to me, neither was exactly right, but they were almost interchangeable. So on the spur of the moment, I gave both of them the prize, but that turned out to be pretty expensive for the show. So we're armed against that situation now. If I can't figure out by 3:10 or 3:12 when the time comes who gets it, the earliest person to have the most plausible answer will be the winner. Now that should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to give you now 3 or 4 things and ask you what is the deepest philosophical common denominator. I'm just going to give you the categories before the break so you can think about it. My categories today are all over the map, but that's the whole idea of a tie-in contest. I got to say, one of them has to do with sporting events. One of them has to do with youth gangs. One of them has to do with legislation of morality by Washington. And there's some other things, history and other things, too, that we'll bring in as and when necessary. So get ready. Get your pens out and your mind sharp. And right after these messages, we'll start with the tie-in contest. It's 2:38. My name is Leonard Peikoff. We're going to start our tie-in contest now, where I ask you to tell me the deepest philosophic common denominator relating and tying together seemingly completely different events. And I'm going to start by giving you the first 2. Then there's going to be very, very different things later, so don't jump too fast, but don't jump too slow to get in, because the earlier you get the answer, the more your chance of winning, since the earliest best answer is the one that wins. The first is the increasing violence at sporting events. The increasing violence at sporting events. I'll say a word about this. We're talking about fans and athletes sometimes, too. Riots at soccer games, ugly fights at football games, referees' lives threatened, proliferation of fights among players. And you know the type of situation I'm referring to. Take the fans, for instance. They want their team to win. Now, if the match is completely one-sided, the other team is incontestably 100% fair, all the rulings are incontestable, that's one thing. But sometimes when the match is close, when there's disputed calls, kind of mob hysteria takes over. Fans start to feel rage that they have had an injustice done to them, that it's unfair. They start to seethe with antagonism, with hatred, with frustration. And then we see what happens. They rush to beat up the fans or the players of the opposing teams, or they rush onto the playing field to tear it up. Or the athlete, same category, same first point. The athlete wants the referee to or umpire to make a call in his favor. And he really wants it. When the referee decides against him, he lunges at him to stop him by brute assault. Now, this is, unfortunately, an event that takes place not infrequently. And it's number 1 in my tie-in contest today. Increasing violence at sporting events. If you think of that situation, it involves 2 things. It involves something happening to the mind of the people and something they do with the body. Something happening in the mind and something they do with the body. That's my little tip. Now let me give you a second and then see whether you can put these 2 together. The second, youth gang warfare. Unfortunate fact that we see very commonly. Youth gang warfare. Over turf, for instance, could be over anything. Let's say we have a situation, a couple of ethnic gangs. They believe in racial pride. They believe that their thoughts, their feelings, their self-esteem, their very identity comes not from what they are as individuals, but from their race, their ethnicity. A black person, for instance, they feel if they're black, is supposed to accept the ideas, values, the convictions, the whole way of coming at things of blacks, and that's supposed to be unique to blacks, understandable only by blacks, and a Mexican is supposed to have exactly the same thing in relation to the Mexican ideas, and the same is supposed to be true for a member of an Asian, an Irish, an Italian, etc. gang. Now suppose that two of these gangs disagree. They disagree strongly about who owns a particular piece of land, or who has insulted whom, or who has robbed whom, or even what is an insult. There's 100 possible disagreements. They have a dispute, a vehement dispute. And how do they settle it? They have drive-by shootings. They have a turf war. They have a rumble. They fight it out. And the winner, the one with the biggest guns. That is my second example for my tie-in contest. We got increasing violence at sporting events. We have youth gang warfare over turf. And before I go on to any more, we've got one entrance, so let's see right away whether she got it or not. On line 7, welcome to the Leonard Peikoff Show. Donna, are you there?
I hope I didn't jump the gun too soon.
Boy, you sure came in fast.
I'm seeing something here. Hope I'm not going to blow it. The third one might really. But anyway.
Now, you're not a professional objectivist, right?
Well,
you haven't
is it overreaction from lack of self-discipline and tolerance?
Say it again. Overreaction.
Okay. Overreacting from lack of self-discipline and tolerance.
Well, let's get rid of tolerance because...
Well, all right, self-discipline.
Because tolerance raises a completely different issue,
well, to
Donna.
Me, self-discipline...
Tolerance is a very dubious thing. It's, yes, I'll live with something that I don't respect or don't approve of. And here is not a question of tolerance.
To me, self-discipline embodies tolerance.
All right, tell me your idea of self-discipline.
Self-discipline, to me, is when you act out of what you know is right in conscience, not what you are, not what the outside circumstances are pressuring you to do out of greed, need, whatever. Just pure conscientious objectiveness.
Acting according to your best knowledge, right?
Yes, right. To your best, whatever is your best morality, yes.
Acting according to your best morality. And in this case, you say it's an overreaction, right? How is it an overreaction against their best morality?
Maybe I shouldn't say overreaction.
No,
it's a reaction because of your lack of self-discipline. And maybe it's not only self-discipline, it's a lack of knowledge, of breeding, of character, of all of these things. But I think anyway, it's a reaction to your lack of decency, your lack of self-discipline.
Well, Donna, I want to say to you that really is a nice try. I do appreciate it. I think it's a little early for you to have got the full idea here, so I can't tell you that you're on the track. But I do think it is a really nice try, and you got to start it, and it's just a matter of our figuring out what kind of reaction and what kind of self-discipline, a little more specifically. But thank you for thank you for the courage of being number one to jump in here, Donna.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. On line 11, we got to take a pause for a commercial, and we'll be right back to get more of your answers right after these messages. It's 2:46. My name is Leonard Peikoff, and this is our tie-in contest where I give you a number of different items, and you tell me what is the deepest philosophic common denominator. We got a lot of brave people who are ready to jump in before I even give the third, so I'm going to try to see if some of them can get it before I even get to the next one. On line 11, Gary.